Don't you? Said Moody quietly. It's very simple, Karkaroff. Someone put Potter's name into the goblet knowing that he'd have to compete if it came out. Evidently, someone who wished to give Hogwarts 2 bits at the same as the apple, said Madame Maxime. I quite agree, Madame Maxime, said Karkaroff, bowing to her. I shall be lodging complaints with the Ministry of Magic and Internal Confederation of Wizards. If anyone has got reasons to complain, it's Potter, growled Moody. But funny thing, I don't hear him saying a word. Why should he complain? Burst out Fleur. I think I might have read this part, didn't I? Okay, Dumbledore. But no doubt you had your reasons. I'm imagining things, am I? Growled Moody. Seeing things, eh? It was a skilled witch or wizard who put that boy's name in that goblet. But what evidence is there of that? Said Madame Maxime, throwing up her huge hands. Because they hoodwinked a very powerful magical object, said Moody. It would have needed an exceptionally strong confundus charm to bamboozle that goblet into forgetting that only 3 schools compete in the tournament. I'm guessing they submitted Potter's name under a false school to make sure that he was the only one in his category. You seem to have given this a great deal of thought, Moody, said Karkaroff coldly. And a very ingenious theory it is. Though, of course, I heard you recently got into your head that one of your birthday presents contained a cunningly disguised basilisk egg and smashed it to pieces before realizing that it was a carriage clock. So, you'll understand if I don't take you entirely seriously. There are those who turn innocent occasions to their advantage, Moody retorted in a menacing voice. It's my job to think the way dark wizards do, Karkaroff, as you ought to remember. Alistair, said Dumbledore warningly. Harry wondered for a moment whom he was speaking to, but then realized that Mad-Eye Moody could hardly be Moody's real first name. Moody fell silent, though still surveying Karkaroff with satisfaction. Karkaroff's face was burning. How the situation arose, we do not know, said Dumbledore, speaking to everyone gathered in the room. It seems to me, however, that we have no choice but to accept it. Both Cedric and Harry have been chosen to compete in the tournament. This, therefore, they will do. But Dumbledore, my dear Madame Maxime, if you have an alternative, I would be delighted to hear it. Dumbledore waited, but Madame Maxime did not speak. She merely glared. She wasn't the only one either. Snape looked furious, Karkaroff livid. Bagman, however, looked rather excited. Well, shall we crack on then? He said, rubbing his hands together and smiling round the room. Got to give our champions their instructions, haven't we? Barty, want to do the honours? Mr. Crouch seemed to come out of a deep reverie. Yes, he said. Instructions, yes. The first task. He moved forwards into the firelight, close to Harry. Harry thought he looked ill. There were dark shadows beneath his eyes, and a thin, papery look about his wrinkled skin that had not been there at the Quidditch World Cup. The first task is designed to test your daring, he told Harry, Cedric, Fleur, and Crumb. So, we are not going to be telling you what it is. Courage is to face the unknown. In the face of the unknown is an important quality in a wizard, very important. The first task will take place on November 24th in front of the other students and the panel of judges. The champions are not permitted to ask or to accept help of any kind from the teachers to complete the tasks in the tournament. The champions will face the first challenge armed only with their wands. They will receive information about the second task when the first one is over. Owing to the demanding and time-consuming nature of the tournament, the champions are exempted from end-of-year tests. Mr. Crouch turned to look at Dumbledore. I think that's all, is it, Albus? I think so, said Dumbledore, who was looking at Mr. Crouch with mild concern. Are you sure you wouldn't like to stay at Hogwarts tonight, Barty? No, Dumbledore. I must get back to the ministry, said Mr. Crouch. It's a very busy and very difficult time at the moment. I've left young Weatherby in charge. Very enthusiastic, a little over-enthusiastic, if truth be told. You'll come and have a drink before you go, at least, said Dumbledore. Come on, Barty, I'm staying, said Bagman brightly. It's all happening at Hogwarts now, you know. Much more exciting here than at the office. I think not, Ludo, said Crouch, with a touch of his old impatience. Professor Karkaroff, Madame Maxime, a nightcap, said Dumbledore, but Madame Maxime had already put her arms around Flora's shoulders and was leading her swiftly out of the room. Harry could hear them both talking very fast in French as they went off into the great hall. Karkaroff beckoned to Crumb, and they too excited. Though in silence. Harry, Cedric, I suggest that you go to bed, said Dumbledore, smiling at both of them. I am sure Gryffindor and Hufflepuff are waiting to celebrate with you, and it would be a shame to deprive them of the excellent excuse to make a great deal of mess and noise. Harry glanced at Cedric, who nodded, and they left together. The great hall was deserted now. The candles had burnt low, giving the jagged smiles of the pumpkins an eerie flickering quality. So, said Cedric with a slight smile, we're playing against each other again. I suppose, said Harry. He really couldn't think of anything to say. The inside of his head seemed to be in complete disarray, as though his brain had been ransacked. So, tell me, said Cedric, as they reached the entrance hall, which was now lit only with torches in the absence of the goblet of fire. How did you get your name in? I didn't, said Harry, staring up at him. I didn't put it in. I was telling the truth. Ah, okay, said Cedric, but Harry could tell that he didn't believe him. Well, see you then. Instead of going up to the marble staircase, Cedric headed for the door to its right. Harry stood listening to him going down the stone steps beyond it, then slowly started to climb the marble ones. Was anyone except Ron and Hermione going to believe him? Or would they all think that he'd put himself in for the tournament? Yet how could anyone think that when he was facing competitors who had 3 years more magical education than he had, when he was now facing tasks which not only sounded very dangerous, but which were to be performed in front of hundreds of people? Yes, he'd thought about it, he'd fantasized about it, but it had been a joke, really, an idle sort of dream. He'd never really seriously considered entering. But someone else had considered it. Someone else had wanted him in the tournament, had made sure that he entered. Why? To give him a treat? He didn't think so, somehow. To see him make a fool of himself, well, they were likely to get their wish. But to get him killed? Was Moody just being his usual paranoid self?